Good evening. My name is Alejandra Flores. I am a current student here at SAIS Europe, and I am the student body president. A little bit about me: I grew up in the north of Mexico and moved to the United States to do my studies and began my career there in politics throughout the Midwest region. Like many of my fellow classmates, I chose to be at Johns Hopkins SAIS Europe to immerse myself in a diverse community and gain global perspectives on international relations and affairs. For me, SAIS Europe is more than just a school. It represents a shared passion centered around the pursuit of education. Tonight, as we celebrate the installation of SAIS's inaugural rector, Renaud Dehousse, we would like to remember some of the thoughts on education from one of his mentors, Jacques Delors, whose passing leaves behind a legacy of visionary leaders and as a president of the European Commission. Of his many achievements, an essential one was the understanding of the importance of education and international exchange. I want to share a few of his words now from an UNESCO report on education for the 21st century. In confronting the many challenges that the future holds in store, humankind sees in education an indispensable asset in its attempt to attain the ideals of peace, freedom, and social justice. Education is not a miracle cure, nor a magical formula opening the door to a world in which all ideals will be attained, but as one of the principal means available to foster a deeper and more harmonious form of human development, and thereby to reduce poverty, exclusion, ignorance, oppression, and war. Education is at the heart of both personal and community development. Its mission is to enable each of us, without exception, to develop all our talents to the fullest and realize our creative potential, including the responsibility for our own lives and achievement of our personal aims. This aim transcends all others. Its achievement, though long and difficult, will be an essential contribution to the search for a more just world, a better world to live in. Thank you. I'm very excited to celebrate with you all tonight.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Alejandra, for that beautiful speech, and a warm welcome to all of you to this historic installation ceremony of the inaugural rector of SAIS Europe. On behalf of Johns Hopkins University, it brings me great joy to extend our greetings to all of you in this breathtaking location right in the heart of the city of Bologna. My name is Barbara Serra. I'm an international journalist and news anchor, and it's my great pleasure to be your master of ceremony for this evening. I am Italian-born, but as you might be able to detect from my voice, I also come from an international educational background, and that's why it was so interesting listening to Alejandra speak about basically the importance of having your formative years in a place where you have a lot of different international influences. I must confess, I'm not sure I remember much about all my classes at college when I was her age, but I do remember the feeling of being in an international environment, of being exposed to so many different narratives, and if I'm honest, also the ability to sometimes agree to disagree and still come to some constructive conclusion. Now, today signifies a momentous turning point in the rich history of SAIS. Throughout the evening, you're going to hear about the school's journey from its humble beginnings here in Bologna back in 1955 to the esteemed institution that it has become today. But even throughout those years, throughout the decades, the fundamental principles that underpin SAIS have remained steadfast through the years. Now, we've come together this evening to welcome and formally install Professor Renaud Dehousse in his new position, ready to turn a new leaf for Johns Hopkins University SAIS Europe. Now, for some of you in the audience, Johns Hopkins SAIS might be known as l'Università Americana in the university neighborhood in Via Bel Meloro and Via Andreatta. But actually, SAIS Europe emerged with a specific focus on international affairs and the frameworks for transnational cooperation and peace during a critical juncture in the post-war world order in the 50s. And I hope you'll forgive me for saying something that is very obvious, but we are at a critical juncture now as well. Now, fast forward to the present day, SAIS Europe's campus in Bologna serves as a unique bridge connecting diverse parts of the world. This connection extends not only, obviously, to SAIS's flagship campus in Washington, D.C. in the United States, and its long-standing program in Nanjing in China, but also to academic, research and convening activities across Europe, neighboring countries in Africa, the Mediterranean basin and beyond. As we gather here to celebrate the installation of the inaugural rector, Professor Renaud Dehousse, let us reflect on the profound impact that SAIS Europe has had and continues to have on the global landscape of international affairs. Thank you for being part of this significant moment in SAIS history. Okay, well, it's time to hear from the first of our esteemed speakers. He is Matteo Lepore, the mayor of Bologna. Now, SAIS holds a special connection with Mayor Lepore and actually all of the mayors who preceded him. Now, remarkably, and I confess I didn't know this, every SAIS Europe alum proudly identifies as an honorary Bolognese. They've kind of self-appointed themselves as that. There's a global network of 8,500 SAIS alumni, and they contribute their expertise in leadership roles across the public and private sectors, multinational institutions, non-profit organizations, the media, academia, and all of them actually consider themselves to be ambassadors for this great city. So to tell us more about Bologna La Dotta and the role of SAIS Europe in Bologna, it's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Matteo Lepore, the mayor of Bologna. Mr. Mayor.
Hello everyone, Mr. Ambassador, President Daniels, Rector Dehousse, and all distinguished guests. I'm very honored to host you in Bologna. So, for the first time in this beautiful hall, I have to say welcome to Bologna to everyone, to the students, to the professor, all the people of the great community of Johns Hopkins. As you see, Bologna is very happy to have the Johns Hopkins in this moment and in the history. For us is a very important pillar of the city of knowledge, the city of the universities, because Bologna is, yes, the oldest university in the Western countries, we used to say in the world, but is also a city of different universities, of different competencies. And the diversity of Bologna, I think, is one of the important aspects of our local community. The privilege to open this ceremony for us is the privilege to also inaugurate the duty of the Rector Dehousse and the new course of the SAIS Europe here in Bologna. Our rich history in culture and academic, I think, is a strong commitment to the future. For us, the knowledge is the most important aspect of the idea of democracy and participation in our continent and in our country. The reason why we founded the oldest university in the world on the idea of right and, in general, the study of the rights. The Liber Paradisus in 1258 was the first book, the first contract dedicated to the people of the city, the people and the freedom. The first city, in fact, that give freedom to the slaves has been Bologna. And the Liber Paradisus is an idea of citizenship, the idea that together we can build the future of a city among the people who decide to arrive in Bologna and become Bolognese. The reason why, as a mayor, I decided to put an important banner outside the municipality. If you go to Piazza Maggiore, you can see a red banner, and on the banner you can see the statement, Bolognesi dal primo giorno, Bolognesi from the first day. This is an idea of welcome, an idea of democracy, an idea of citizenship, and also an idea of economy and an idea of freedom in knowledge. The same reason why with our university and the Rector Molari, and I say that the Rector is an important partner for us, we use every occasion to exchange with our students the value of our citizenship, the idea that Bologna could save human rights in the world and the commitment for human rights in the world. The history, for example, of Patrizaki, an important honorary citizen of our city, and in general, the idea that the freedom of study and knowledge is so important for us. The appointment of Professor Dehousse as the first rector of SAIS Europe is a significant milestone. Closer ties between Bologna and the Johns Hopkins University. He will leverage the welcoming spirit and open-minded atmosphere of our city to create synergies and benefit both the city and the university. And the idea that SAIS is an institution of academic exchange and bridge between cultures. In this moment, Bologna represents, I'm proud to say, progressive and democratic city in our country. We are trying to push forward innovation, to push forward the right choice in sustainability, in social agenda, in innovation, and also, I remark, the idea that Bologna is the capital for supercomputing, artificial intelligence, not only for our country, but also for the European continent. European Commission indeed decided to invest 350 million euros dedicated to our Technopole, and we want to use this opportunity to bring together the idea of democracy, the value of the democracy and participation of the people, to the high capacity to calculate the future and the idea of innovation. I think our university is founded on this idea, the base of our university, the idea of research and development. The past, the present, and the future of Bologna are deeply intertwined with the university heritage, reflected in these streets and cultural heritage. The porticos, recognized by UNESCO, 63 kilometers of porticos, are a sort of embrace for all the community, but also an idea of exchange, an idea of bridge and landscape in the heart of our country. Wishing Professor Renaud Dehousse and all the other partners of SAIS, I think we will have a fruitful collaboration, and I will hope that in the next year, everyone among you will be an important and distinguished citizen of our city. Bologna is love, and in this moment, love is important for the freedom of the people. Thank you very much.
Mayor Lepore, thank you very much. That's it, we're all Bolognese now. Now, President Ronald J. Daniels, the 14th president of Johns Hopkins University and professor of political science, has been a thoughtful and visionary leader for the past 15 years. Throughout his tenure, he has prioritized SAIS Europe in the overarching goals of the university. Under his leadership, Johns Hopkins has maintained preeminence in education, patient care, and innovative discovery. It holds a remarkable 40-year record as the recipient of more federally allocated research funding than any other university in the country. President Daniels has focused on strengthening interdisciplinary collaboration, improving student access, deepening engagement with Baltimore, and supporting economic and social innovation. During his last visit to Bologna, just in December 2023, President Daniels announced Vision 2030 and the transformative gift from philanthropists James and Marg Anderson to SAIS Europe. This gift set in motion the process that brings us here today to formally install Professor Dehousse as the inaugural rector of SAIS Europe. As President Daniels, your commitment to excellence has shaped Johns Hopkins University, and we're all grateful for your leadership. So it's my great pleasure to welcome President Daniels to the stage to tell us more about his vision for the school.
Well, good evening, and it is wonderful to be back in Bologna. Thank you for that very kind introduction. Mayor Laporte, thank you so much for being here to open our ceremonies tonight, and thank you for taking such good care of the city, for being such an inspired advocate for it. A city, of course, it's very meaningful to us at Johns Hopkins because, of course, it's home for our European campus. In February 1955, mere steps from here, thousands gathered for the inauguration of the SAIS program in Bologna. And assembled on a similar stage to the one that I'm on tonight were C. Grover Haynes, SAIS's first director in Bologna, Felice Battaglia, the University of Bologna Rector, and Claire Booth Luce, the U.S. ambassador to Italy. As I look across this hall this evening, we're again honored to be with the new U.S. ambassador, the Rector of Unibo, and our new Rector of a reimagined, re-energized SAIS Europe. Now, as Yogi Berra, the great Italian-American sage and famous catcher for the New York Yankees put it, it's deja vu all over again. All we're missing tonight are the mace bearers in wigs. I hope that we can all agree that in this moment of polarization, some things are perhaps best left in the past. As our scholars of history know well, however, that scene might have seemed unlikely a mere 6 months before it took place in 1955. The world slowly settled into a fragile post-World War peace. Italy and Yugoslavia continued to spar over the control of Trieste. Today, Trieste is Italy's acknowledged coffee capital and so much more. But back then, it was a second Iron Curtain, an internationally brokered partition between Anglo-American and Yugoslavian forces. But the partition was crumbling. Riots erupted across the region. Political instability roiled Italy after the fall of Prime Minister De Gasperi, and troops on both sides began to mobilize. Among others, one of the installation's attendees, Ambassador Claire Booth Luce, saw a lit fuse hurtling the tinderbox of the continent once more towards chaos. Unfortunately, she was met with more than a little recalcitrance on both sides of the ocean as she sought a peaceful resolution to the crisis that was emerging. Such a resolution took more than a year of international collaboration with British, French, and Austrian diplomats. It required deft statecraft from working with emerging Italian leadership predisposed to peace and coordinating a military retreat to getting Yugoslavian President Tito on board. And it demanded US President Eisenhower's full attention, which was actually quite hard to obtain. Indeed, Claire Booth Luce knew the standard memo would not do for a president with little time. As draft after draft of a meticulously crafted and detailed memos piled up around her apartment, a desperate Luce recalled from somewhere in the recesses of her mind that the president had loved a certain nursery rhyme as a child, which went something along the lines of, for want of a nail, the shoe was lost. And so, with nothing and yet everything left to lose, she penned her version. For want of Trieste, an issue was lost. This got his attention, and the seeds for peace were planted. Nearly 70 years ago, as she took to the stage at our first inauguration, Ambassador Luce brought to that moment the awareness not only of the power of great statecraft in moments of precarity for global society, but also that statecraft is not merely just a technocratic exercise. Understanding and influencing global geopolitics involves marshaling a knowledge of history, economics, culture, psychology, and sometimes even poetry to move people and to shape policy. And as she told the thousands assembled that day, the collective power of the newly launched SAIS and the world's oldest university represented, quote, an addition to the immediate aspiration of the world designing to know itself better, to be better united. Over the 70 years, SAIS Europe has delivered on that promise to help the world know itself better and to educate those who would help lead it to a better, more united place. We have brought impactful research into the practice of global diplomacy. We have equipped generations of graduates with the skills to navigate geopolitics and resolve grand challenges. And we have bolstered a free and open exchange of ideas, animating treaties in the tradition of Trieste. Now, with a transformational $100 million gift, SAIS Europe is poised to renew this compact with the world here in Bologna. We are doubling our full-time faculty, enhancing our capacity to deliver impactful research and innovative solutions to complex policy issues. We will draw on the wisdom of disciplines from all corners of the university, infusing our intellectual community with perspectives from across Europe, Washington, Nanjing, and of course, Baltimore. We're removing financial hurdles to the powerful educational experience offered here in Bologna, opening our doors to more undergraduate and graduate students who will bring a true plurality of experiences, ideas, backgrounds, and thoughts. And we are thrilled, truly thrilled, to welcome our inaugural Rector of SAIS Europe, Renaud Dehousse. A lawyer by training, his scholarship focuses on the institutions and legal arrangements that help fuel the growth of the EU over the past 25 years through economic revitalization, Brexit, and Eastern expansion. Renaud embodies everything that SAIS stands for: a commitment to evidence-based inquiry, a recognition of the power of education, and faith in the university as a champion of liberal democracy. These are trajectory-altering changes that will enable us to help the world better know itself, and we hope remain more united than divided in the next 70 years. The stakes clearly are just as high today as they were 70 years ago, and we are confident, nay, really excited that with Renaud at the head of SAIS Europe, we will be able to vindicate our responsibilities here in Europe and more broadly. Thank you so much for being here tonight to celebrate this really important moment in the life of Johns Hopkins University.
President Daniels, thank you so much for outlining some of the very exciting things that the future will have on hold. Now, I'd like to introduce Professor Giovanni Molari, the Magnifico Rettore dell'Università di Bologna. Now, since 2021, Professor Molari has held the position of Rector at the University of Bologna. UNIBO, as they call it here, has been a pivotal partner for SAIS since its inception, and we anticipate that this collaboration will flourish even more under the leadership of Professor Dehousse, the first European, it has to be said, to lead this esteemed American university. In fact, it was a connection between Johns Hopkins University and the University of Bologna that allowed us to be here today. This visionary initiative took shape through the collaboration between Grove Haynes, the founder of SAIS Europe, and Professor Felice Battaglia, then the rector of the University of Bologna. Together, they believed in SAIS, an innovative international academic program at the home of Europe's oldest and most respected universities. Now, as the oldest university globally and the paramount academic institution in Europe and in Italy, UNIBO boasts a student body of 90,000 pupils. Recently, it has emerged as a major hub for international students as well, now hosting more than 7,000 international students annually. Rettore Molari, we would be delighted if you could come to the stage and share some of the insights into your plans for UNIBO as we look ahead. Please.
Dear President of Johns Hopkins University, dear Rector of SAIS Europe, dear Dean of SAIS, dear Mayor of Bologna, dear US Ambassador in Italy, dear speakers, dear guests. I'm very glad to be here tonight to welcome the new SAIS Europe Rector for Professor Dehousse on behalf of the Alma Mater Studiorum University of Bologna. Our institutions have a long-lasting history of close, friendly, and fruitful relations, grounded on the excellence of research and mutual students' exchanges. Universities were born for the pursuit of bringing together scholars from different places and backgrounds, warranting them a safe scenario to pursue free reflection. In other terms, they were born to ensure freedom of thought and autonomy research in international dimension. This is still the core mission of university worldwide, a mission that since its foundation in 1088, the University of Bologna has been constantly committed to fulfill, pursuing inclusivity, intense dialogue, and reciprocal understanding. It does so by means of its very large and strongly international community of scholars and students who present and share the plethora of cultures, languages, and mindsets. Over the years, the Alma Mater Studiorum University of Bologna has paved the way for innovation thanks to an increasingly rich program of catalog. At the moment, we have more than 260 degree programs, cutting-edge research. At the moment, we have 31 departments, and convincing third mission strategy we have improved recently. Its community of more than 95,000 students, 300 professors, 3,000 professors, 3,000 staff, administrative staff, makes the University of Bologna one of the Italy's largest university, ranking first in Italy in terms of number of its students in exchange programs abroad and within the 5 top universities in Europe in terms of number of exchange students. As a prominent academic institution characterized and enriched by our international relation in all the world, we are called to be at the forefront of research and education. We innovate them and get researchers as well as present and future citizens ready to address present and future challenges. This is all the more important in current global scenario, very complicated, affected by increasing and alarming range of conflicts and crises. Academic institutions, being focused on knowledge, education, and social common good, are committed to peace promotion and engaging in the devising of sustainable solutions on global crucial issues, from climate to migration, from artificial intelligence to health, from natural resources to cultural heritage. Building on their shared principles and valuing their differences, University of Bologna and SAIS Johns Hopkins shall cooperate in the sharing of expertise and perspectives to design research projects and cultural strategies, taking these as well as other major global issues. We trust that our academic communities are going to foster further collaboration in the future, effectively interacting in the construction and dissemination of scientific knowledge for the benefit of our local, national, and international communities. I hope that, but I am sure about this, that the new rector of SAIS Europe will continue the collaboration and foster our interaction, and we are very happy to continue to work together in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Malari, talking about the continuing very strong relationship between SAIS Europe and Unibo. Okay, now it's time to introduce Professor Vera Zamagni. Now, she is the longest-standing adjunct faculty member at SAIS Europe. We were discussing it backstage. Started in 1974, February, so almost 50 years to the day. She was also the very first woman on the SAIS Europe Bologna Center faculty back in '74. Well-known and well-respected in the local community among academics, entrepreneurs, and the church. She's a former vice president of the Emilia-Romagna regional government, and her academic focus has been on economics, the European Union, and transatlantic relations, so certainly very topical. It's my great pleasure to welcome to the stage Professor Vera Zamagni.
Good evening, everybody. I represent in this event, that marks a turning point in the life of SAIS Europe, the entire faculty, both residents and adjuncts. And on their behalf, I want to briefly sketch the role played by the center in accompanying thousands of students coming from tens of world countries to learn the instruments of diplomacy and international relations, the only ones that guarantee peace. I had the great honor of working with 8 out of the 9 former directors. I just missed the founder, Grof Heinz, for 2 years. And I had the pleasure of collaborating with eminent colleagues, many of them belonging to other institutions as full professors, like myself, but granting courses at the Bologna Center for a long time. They are scholars who always brought with them their diverse and enriching visions. But the greatest satisfaction in my life was to be able to transfer my knowledge to students who were ready to build on it and on the knowledge of all other colleagues, careers that not only allowed them to flourish, but contributed to build bridges among cultures, nations, and visions with a never-ending approach of dialogue. The school has been capable to adjust to the major world changes of the last half-century, adding or changing courses, inviting guests for lectures from all over the world, promoting seminars and conferences on the hot issues of each time. When I first joined in the mid-1970s, it was still the time of students' protests and of major ideological confrontations. I have in my memory the passion and the respect of our long discussions. This was followed by a decade of strengthening of European integration with Jacques Delors as head of the Commission and then the Maastricht Treaty. The ties of the center with the institutions of the European Union became stronger than ever, giving rise to study trips and stages for the students. I held myself for some time a Jean Monnet chair at the center. The 1990s were the years of the demise of the Soviet Union and of the great challenge of giving a new chance to the eastern countries of Europe, with the major leap forward of admitting most of them into the European Union. The predominant concentration of the center on Western Europe and United States relations gave up to a more diversified coverage. In the 21st century, endless discussions about the euro and about the causes and consequences of the 2008 financial crisis occupied a central stage. As of lately, of course, other crises polarized our attention up until the present dramatic situation of war. The school has always tried to convey to students the necessity to be well prepared to face the challenges of the world by using a rigorous system of study as well as a multidisciplinary approach. We were successful in persuading economists to learn history, in persuading political scientists to learn some economics, and this was no minor achievement. This has always been coupled with an invitation to become friends of each other and to take the advantage of getting to know Italy as well as Europe. The trip to Vienna for the Austrian Ball is memorable and is in place since 1975. I think that this blending of first-rate knowledge with an intense and diversified life experience is unique. Our alumni remind this to us every time they come back as the true guest of SAIS Europe. Today, the new rector will face no minor challenges, among which how to strengthen democracy in the face of authoritarian governments, the place of the West in geopolitics, the possible solution of the Russian drama, the pacification of the Middle East, the rise of Africa, the threats of artificial intelligence and of the energy transition, and many more. The new rector needs, as we heard, to enlarge our faculty by appointing scholars who are researching these themes, and the present teaching staff of the center is prepared to give him a strong hand to find out not only the best scholars, but those who are passionate of putting their knowledge at the service of societal improvement. There has always been among us at the Bologna Center a cooperative feeling in line with the best tradition of Bologna that not only hosts the most ancient university of the world, as you have heard, but is also the capital of the Italian cooperative movement. These coming years will be a great opportunity for us all to go behind the routine and dare to fly high. We are grateful to you, Renaud, for having accepted this challenging task, and we wish you success.
Professor Verrazamagni, thank you very much, and outlining, of course, the many challenges and various instabilities in the world right now. Well, we shift our focus across the ocean, and it's a privilege to welcome Ambassador Jack Markell to the stage. The significance of this moment actually brings us back to the inauguration of the SAIS Bologna Center back on February 22nd, 1955, where more than 1,000 guests gathered in the Aula Magna of Unibo. At that historic event, the then US Ambassador, Claire Booth-Luce, congratulated Grove Haynes and Johns Hopkins on their new venture. Well, today, alongside Ambassador Markell, we embark on a new chapter for SAIS Europe. Ambassador Markell, a distinguished American politician and diplomat, has been serving as the US Ambassador to Italy and San Marino since last autumn. His previous role include being the US Ambassador to the OECD and the Governor of Delaware. Well, it's my great pleasure to welcome Ambassador Markell to the stage, where he'll tell us about the role of US institutions in higher education in Italy and how they relate to the broader context of global affairs. Ambassador.
Well, thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here in this magnificent building. It's really an honor to be with all of you and welcoming Professor Dehousse as the inaugural rector of this incredibly important institution. It's great to see the mayor, Mayor Lepore, whose stewardship of this beautiful, beautiful city provides a welcoming home for SAIS Europe. And I thank you for the tour today as well. It's just a wonderful city. Great to meet Rector Molari, and thank you for your terrific support the University of Bologna has offered and continues to offer to SAIS Europe. I also want to welcome back to Italy President Daniels and Dean Steinberg. I can assure you both of them are extraordinarily well respected back home. Johns Hopkins is one of the world's best universities, and I am thrilled to see it making such an important contribution to Bologna, just as it has to its home city of Baltimore. SAIS Europe is an academic powerhouse. It offers a truly global education, importantly, to the next generation of leaders who will take on the massive challenges that we are facing. SAIS has produced so many distinguished alumni, journalists, business leaders, professors, government officials, and more than 100 ambassadors around the world. On a personal level, I want to thank SAIS for educating so many members of the embassy staff, so many members of the Foreign Service. They have told me how much that their time at SAIS has meant to them and how well it has prepared them for their careers. And I believe that SAIS Europe is more important than it's ever been. As you've heard, it was created in 1955 during that perilous first decade of the Cold War to strengthen transatlantic ties and to bring European perspectives to a new generation of global leaders. And during these 6 decades, this transatlantic alliance has built consensus on our shared values of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. This is a very dangerous time for the world. And that's why I say that SAIS is more important than it's ever been. As Secretary Blinken said in his remarks at SAIS just last fall, we find ourselves at another hinge moment in history. Decades of relative geopolitical stability have given way to intensifying competition with authoritarian powers. Forging international cooperation has gotten more complex. And today, this hinge moment includes Russia's aggression in Ukraine, attempts by too many countries to undermine the rules-based international order, and the conflict in the Middle East. To overcome these great challenges, in addition to ongoing problems like climate change, mass migration, and food insecurity, our countries need informed, educated, thoughtful partners and decision makers, and that's exactly where SAIS Europe comes in. We need allies who are willing and able to commit the resources that are necessary to deter, and to defend aggression, against aggression. It will take all of us, governments, academia, and business to tackle these challenges. This is no small task for Rector Dehousse as he takes on the reins of this incredible institution. And I'm sure this incredibly significant and generous gift will make a huge difference. And with that support, I wish you, Rector, and all of you success. Grazie.
Ambassador Merkel, thank you. Thank you so much for your words. And of course, it is a very intense situation that the world finds itself in. I remember when I finished uni, it was the 90s is when we thought it was the end of history, and apparently it hadn't quite ended yet. And so the decision makers and the thought leaders that emerge from institutions like SAIS will be crucial in years to come. So let's focus now on Johns Hopkins University. Dean James Steinberg has been at the helm of SAIS since 2021, steering the school through significant transformations amid the post-COVID world, the inauguration of the new Bloomberg Center in Washington, D.C., and a defining new chapter for SAIS Europe right here in Bologna. Dean Steinberg brings a wealth of experience in policy and academia, having previously served as the Dean of the LBJ School at the University of Texas, Austin, and the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs at Syracuse University. His distinguished career includes high-level roles in the Clinton and Obama administrations, serving as Deputy National Security Advisor and Deputy Secretary of State, respectively. Notably, he's also contributed to think tanks such as the Brookings Institution and is recognized as a prolific and successful writer. Please join me in welcoming Dean James Steinberg. And Dean, perhaps you can tell us about how SAIS Europe contributes to the overall mission of the school and the changes that you are anticipating.
Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you, Barbara, for hosting this wonderful, exciting evening. It's so great to have so many of you here with us tonight on this very special occasion, and it's a real privilege for me to be back again here in Bologna and at SAIS Europe. We are inaugurating tonight a new phase in the remarkable history of SAIS Europe with the installation of our first rector. I want to express the appreciation and gratitude of the entire SAIS community to James and Marag Anderson, whose generosity and extraordinary commitment to our school and our university has made it possible to open this new chapter. I also want to thank President Daniels, Ambassador Markel, Mayor Lepore, Rector Mollery, and our beloved colleague Vera Zamagni, as well as all our distinguished guests, our magnificent faculty, our extraordinary staff, our incredible students, and especially our amazing community of alumni, all of us who are joining us here for this special event. I'm pleased, too, that so many of my colleagues are here from the faculty and the leadership of SAIS from DC as a representation of the one SAIS and one Johns Hopkins that we all are so committed to. And I stand before you proudly sporting one of my proudest possessions, my SAIS Bologna tie. The expanding breadth and scope of our programs here in Bologna comes at an especially propitious time, in parallel with the opening of our extraordinary home in DC at the Hopkins Bloomberg Center. It will allow us to take to a whole new level the truly global nature of SAIS, with our 3 campuses in the United States, Europe, and the Hopkins Nanjing Center, what I like to call SAIS 3.0. SAIS was founded by visionary statesmen who understood the need for rigorous thinking and creative young leaders to chart a new world order after the ravages of World War II. Our center here in Bologna, founded, as you've heard, nearly 70 years ago, was similarly inspired by the importance of sustaining a deep transatlantic link connecting both policymakers and scholars on both sides of the Atlantic, as together we face the challenges of the Cold War and the need to defend democracy and freedom. Today, the continued importance of this mission is clear, and perhaps more important than ever, as we confront the challenges of a war in Ukraine, unrest in the Middle East, a deepening climate emergency, and threats to democracy and freedom in our own time, in our own countries, and around the world. The expansion of our presence here in Bologna, new degree programs, new faculty and students, and greater public engagement will allow us to help generate both the ideas and the innovative leaders we need to meet these challenges. In just a few months, we will convene a major transatlantic conference here at SAIS Europe in partnership with 3 of the leading international affairs schools in the United States and Europe, Sciences Po, Renaud's old home, IE Madrid, and the Jackson School at Yale, bringing together leading scholars and policymakers to discuss how together we can provide the fresh ideas we so desperately need at this critical time. This is just a foretaste of what we plan to do to implement the bold Vision 2030 for SAIS Europe and for SAIS as a whole. But our new and expanded programs here will go beyond the already rich connections between our SAIS campuses to increasingly involve our colleagues from across Johns Hopkins as part of our commitment to one JHU. Scientists, engineers, public health experts, and humanists from across the university will be spending time here to work with Bologna students and faculty and their colleagues across Europe at this marvelous intellectual crossroads. We look forward to deepening our ties with our wonderful neighbor, the University of Bologna, and its rich traditions. And we are fortunate to have a remarkable leader to help us take advantage of this opportunity. Renaud Dehousse was chosen after a global search and an impressive pool of candidates. He brings to this new position a distinguished career as a scholar, educational innovator, and an important voice on policy issues in Europe and beyond. As president of the European University Institute, he introduced important innovations in its curriculum and research, recruited talented faculty, and enhanced the EUI's voice in the public arena. I want to thank Peter Lewis and the Search Committee for the efforts that led to such a wonderful outcome, and one more time to thank Mike Plummer for his capable stewardship of SAIS Europe during his highly successful tenure. And I'd ask for a round of applause for Mike. I look forward with great enthusiasm to partnering with Renaud, our wonderful faculty, amazing staff and students here, and our dedicated alumni and supporters as we launch this new chapter. Please join me in welcoming our new Rector and Vice Dean of SAIS, Renaud Dehousse.
Well, good evening. Good evening to all, and thank you so much for this warm welcome. It has been, I think you can imagine it, quite a day, and I'm genuinely appreciative to all of you for your participation in this event. I'd like to take a few more minutes of your time to talk about the future of SAIS Europe. But as we know, any discussion about the future must start by a reflection on the past. And in the present case, the history of SAIS Europe is really a truly remarkable story. A story that owes much to the incredible energy of its founder, C. Grove Haynes, a professor of diplomatic history at SAIS, who held a deep affection for Italy and was captivated by the efforts in Europe to overcome the scars of two devastating world wars. His intuition led him to believe that there was a need for a space where what we now call future leaders could enhance their understanding of each other's worlds, and he envisioned that this could be best achieved through a program for which there was no model whatsoever in Europe at the time, a graduate study program in international affairs. In his own words, I quote, "There was a place for something between the American school, physically removed from the European scene, and the traditional year of study abroad in American universities. There was also a place for a center of American studies for European in Europe." This hybrid character, arguably, remains one of the hallmarks of today's SAIS Europe. Grove Haynes had the support from SAIS, but he had to secure the necessary funding to get started. And in a time where internet and social media did not exist, of course, he had to demonstrate a formidable energy in order to mobilize stakeholders, scout for high-level instructors, and successfully recruit the first cohort of students. Now, in addition to his remarkable qualities as an academic entrepreneur, let me emphasize Grove Haynes' remarkable prescience. When he embarked on that project, the concept of security community, later coined by Karl Deutsch, was not yet fashionable. It would take another 2 decades for European countries to painstakingly give birth to an institution inspired by the same multicultural and multidisciplinary ideals, an institution that I know well and that I'm pleased to see so well represented tonight. The fact, of course, that the European University was also located in Italy speaks volumes about the convening power of our wonderful host country. Of course, The choice for Italy may be explained by the pivotal role that it played in the intellectual confrontation between the East and the West during the Cold War years. But let me underscore that the choice of Bologna was not accidental either. The region's economic and cultural vitality, coupled with the prestige of Europe's oldest, but also one of its most renowned universities, provided an ideal setting for the young school. Last but not least, let me recall that the establishment of SAIS Europe would not have been possible without the generous assistance of Professor Felice Battaglia, then rector of the University of Bologna, who provided office space, classrooms, and access to the university's library. He also played an instrumental role in facilitating access to Italian authorities to Grove Haynes, which of course was key to enabling the school's beginnings. Now, as was just pointed out by Dean Steinberg, today's world is markedly different from the one in which the Bologna Center was created. The collapse of the Soviet Union and the rise of China as a global player have reshaped the global landscape. We now witness the emergence of a multipolar world, a world in which the Western worldview faces many challenges, as was evident in the reactions from the global South to the Russian aggression against Ukraine. Despite this increasing polarization, global cooperation remains imperative to address a number of challenges like climate change or the exponential growth of technology. Let me also emphasize that Europe too has changed in the nearly 70 years of existence of SAIS Europe. The EU has expanded westwards. It has evolved in a response to a series of crises, and in so doing has become more contested, yet arguably more necessary than ever. We know that there are many sovereignty-minded governments today, but even sovereignty-minded governments are aware and acknowledge that more Europe, for instance, is necessary in order to regulate migration flows. Even self-professed illiberals do not envisage to leave the European Union. For the Brexit experience has shown that, yes, withdrawal is a right recognized by the EU treaty, but it's not a cost-free option for the governments that might contemplate it. That said, we also know that Europe still has a long way to go if it really wants to have the ability to defend its own interest on the world stage. Simply said, it punches far below its weight in foreign policy issues. In such a context, the significance of cultural exchanges, as advocated by Grove Haynes, remains as crucial as it was during the establishment of SAIS Europe. The recent Russian aggression against Ukraine has served as a reminder to both the US and the European governments that the transatlantic relationship is not merely a relic of the past, as once famously stated by a former American president, nor is it brain dead, as was said a little later by the current French president. This notwithstanding, the question remains, how solid is this partnership? If you look at this question, you will see that one witnesses multiple centrifugal forces on both sides of the Atlantic. All our nations are somehow experiencing increasing social heterogeneity and polarization, with large layers of the population so concerned by threats to their well-being that they find it difficult to pay attention to external challenges, rightly or wrongly. Moreover, electoral volatility is growing, making at the same time long-term commitments more difficult to undertake and harder to preserve. Inevitably, countries viewing each other as economic rivals will encounter challenges in fostering cooperation on international issues. One can be but worried by signals that emerge from recent polls. Over the past decade, for instance, the number of Americans supporting their country's international engagement has steadily declined. Recently, Chicago Council poll indicated that for the first time, a majority of Republican supporters believe it would be best for their country to stay out of world affairs. And the situation is no better on this side of the Atlantic, where surveys have shown that, yes, European impressions of the US have improved after the election of President Biden. Yet, if you scratch under the surface, you will see that young adults predominantly view America's role on the global stage in less positive terms. They're particularly critical of the US acting as the world's policeman, perceiving this as detrimental to the global community. This is a matter of concern. For political communities are constructs where maintaining a sense of community is essential. In a partnership, as cooperation becomes more challenging, understanding the viewpoint of the other side becomes increasingly important. Needless to say, institutions of learning may play a key role at this level by fostering mutual knowledge. And yes, let me say that SAIS Europe intends to play its part in this cultural endeavor, leveraging several key aspects. A strong brand first, because synonymous with excellence, the SAIS and the Johns Hopkins brands carry a reputation for academic distinction. Connections with the rest of one of the world's strongest universities. As part of the first research university in the US, SAIS Europe will benefit from strong ties with other schools within the university, starting, of course, with our DC partners. A truly multicultural identity comprising US and European scholars and practitioners, but also individuals from other regions of the world, SAIS Europe fosters a diverse and inclusive environment. With students hailing from 50 countries this year, the campus embodies a rich cultural mosaic. Last but not least, let me mention among our key assets a community of dedicated SAIS Europe alumni, fostering a network that transcends the academic sphere and flourishes globally with a special enthusiasm for the city that hosts us, Bologna. Earlier this evening, President Daniels and Dean Steinberg mention the generous gift SAIS Europe received from James and Morag Anderson. This gift, for which the whole SAIS Europe community is immensely grateful, will empower us to expand our activities and enhance our influence. Our ambitions are of a different order. First, as a professional school, we must constantly keep an eye on the job market, particularly because we are in a period of rapid technological change. One can note, for instance, that in European agencies' forecast, 75% of the children born this year will, when they will hit the job market, have jobs that do not exist today. We must therefore constantly ask ourselves how to prepare our students for the needs of tomorrow and accompany them in their transition to the job market. However, effective training goes well beyond providing learners with sheer knowledge. As indicated in the Delors report mentioned by Alejandra in her opening remarks, it involves instilling a love for learning, honing critical thinking skills, and fostering the ability to adapt to a rapidly changing world. Our ambition also extends beyond training future professionals. We aim to shape better citizens wherever they are from, by fostering tolerance and collaboration among individuals from different backgrounds, thereby preparing them for life in a multicultural and interconnected world. Finally, a university must be the source of new ideas. And to this end, we intend to develop our research capacity on issues crucial for understanding relationships between Europe and the world, with, of course, a specific attention to the transatlantic world. In so doing, we also intend to serve as a bridge between the world of knowledge and that of policy making. As was mentioned by Jim Steinberg, we will, inter alia, hold in the spring of this year an important transatlantic meeting, which we don't view as a one-time event, but as the start of a series of high-level meetings to discuss the problems the partnership is confronted with. I've been here for a few weeks only, but in this short time, I've come to experience why Johns Hopkins University SAIS Europe is such a special place. It stands as an important beachhead for the whole of Johns Hopkins University in Europe and connects America's first research university to its European counterparts. A warm welcome extended to me by the people I've met within our university and in the whole city of Bologna has been overwhelming. I've had the pleasure of meeting the incredible students, the dedicated faculty, and the hard-working staff who contribute to the unique atmosphere of this small institution. Just this weekend in Vienna, together with actually almost all of the class of 2024, I witnessed the remarkable connections that bind this community together. For the first time also, I had the privilege of engaging with our alumni, gaining a first-hand experience of the profound impact SAIS Europe has had on their lives and of their deep attachment for the city of Bologna. With these assets, SAIS Europe is well equipped to reinforce its role as an institution of learning, and in so doing, to contribute to making, as the mayor said in his opening remarks, of Bologna a key hub in discussions, in our case, discussions on Europe's place in the world and the transatlantic relationship. A long and rich agenda, as you see, that will keep us busy in the coming years, but for which I am convinced that we will have the support of all the stakeholders that are represented here tonight. Thank you very much for your attention and for your support.
Professor Dehousse, thank you. Well, that is almost it for this evening. The installment of a new rector for the next phase of SAIS Europe builds on the historical strengths of its past to face the challenges of the future. Before we leave, though, we have to have what in TV news we call the family picture moment, where I'm going to ask all the speakers to come back on stage so we can have a picture to remember this moment. So Professor Dehousse, Mayor Lepore, if you could all come on stage, because I think the floor manager will actually show you where you should go. Very helpfully, there's names here. So, Rettore Molari, Professor Zamagni, Ambassador Markel, Dean Steinberg, and Professor Michael G. Plummer. So thank you all so much for attending. Have a good night. Arrivederci.